Skill 26, Inequalities in Triangles. For number 3, we're going to list the angles of the triangle in order from smallest to largest. Now, in order to do this, it might be helpful to draw a picture, draw a triangle to help us. So I'm going to draw a triangle XYZ, and it says that XY is 12, so I'm just going to mark the sides, 12, and then YZ is 24, and then ZX is 30. So I know that the angles opposite the biggest side is going to be the biggest angle. And so I can just find my angle, smallest to biggest, by looking at the smallest to biggest sides. So my smallest side is right here. So that means my smallest angle is going to be over here, Z. So I start by saying the measure of angle Z, because that is the smallest. And that is less than my next angle measure would be 24, because that's the next smallest number. So opposite of 24 is X. So I have the measure of angle X is less than the biggest one, and last one is the 30, and opposite the 30 is the Y, so I have the measure of angle Y is the biggest. So that is your final answer. For number 6, we're going to list the sides of the triangle in order from shortest to longest. So this time it's the same thing, except we're looking at the angle measures. So again, I'm going to draw a triangle. X, Y, and Z. Okay, and what I'm going to be looking for is the angle measure. So I'm going to start by putting in what I know is true. So angle Y is 30. Angle Z is 49. But I need to find angle X. So to find angle X, you take 180, because that's the total amount of a triangle, and subtract off 30 and subtract off the 49, and then the measure of angle X is 101, so I can put that in there. Alright, and then I just list my sides that are opposite. So the first one, the smallest side, would be opposite of the 30, so that would be side XZ is less than the rest of them. So then my next one, my next smallest number is the 49, so opposite the 49 is XY. So side XY is bigger than XZ, but is smaller than the final side, which is opposite of the 101, which is side YZ. So that is your final answer, from shortest to longest. For number 9, we're going to decide if these 3 lengths could possibly be a triangle. So in order to do that, what we have to do is we have to add all the different combinations together to make sure they are bigger than the third side. So if we start with 11 plus 12, that is equal to 23, which is greater than 15. The next one, we have 11 plus 15, which is equal to 26, which is greater than 12. And finally, we have 12 plus 15, which is equal to 27, which is greater than 11. So because they are all greater than the third side, we can say yes, this can be a triangle. And the reason is because of the triangle inequality theorem. For number 12, the lengths of 2 sides of a triangle are given. Find the range of possible lengths of the third side. Okay, so if we have 20 kilometers and 35 kilometers, what we have to do is, if we sketch out a triangle, it might be a little helpful to understand what we're looking at. So that's what I'm going to start. we have a 20-kilometer side, and we have a 35-kilometer side. Then we don't know the third side. We want to find that third side. So in order to do that, we need to do like we did on number 9 and organize them in 3 different inequalities. So the first one, we would have 20 plus x is greater than 35, because that has to be true. So then the next one, we would have 35 plus x has to be greater than 20. And finally, 35 plus 20 has to be greater than x. So all of these have to be true in order for it to be a triangle. So then we just solve each one for x. So we have x is greater than 15. And then we have, subtract the 35, x is greater than negative 15. And the last one, if we add 35 plus 20, we have 55 is greater than x. Okay, so now we find the ones that would encompass the x. The negative doesn't really make sense because you can't have a negative length anyway, so I'm going to kind of ignore that one. And I'm going to look at the other two. X is bigger than 15, but x is smaller than 55. So 15 kilometers is less than x, which is less than 55 kilometers. So that would be your final answer. For number 15, we're going to write an inequality relating the given side lengths. If there is not enough information, we just write no conclusion. So we want to relate the side LM right here to the side KL. We want to know how those two are related to each other. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to try to get enough information, see if we know enough information to even relate those to each other. Can we say they're the same? Is one bigger than the other? That's what we're looking at. So what I see is we have this line right here as part of both triangles. So that means that we can use a reflexive property and we can say that ln is equal to ln. Okay, so now I have a side right here and a side right here that are the same, and then this side right over here is the same side in each triangle. So I have two sides that are congruent, and the hinge theorem says if I have two sides congruent and then the included angle is not congruent, then I can say something about the opposite sides. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the angles right here. Okay, so if this angle is 82 and I see that they are a linear pair, so I could use the linear pair postulate to say that the measure of angle KNL is equal to 180 minus 82. So the measure of angle KNL is equal to 98 degrees. Okay, so they are not the same, but I know what they are. So if that's 98 degrees, the hinge theorem is going to tell me that the biggest side is opposite the bigger angle. So I can say that KL is greater than the LM. So with a little bit of extra work, I can see that one of the sides is bigger. And for number 18, we want to find the range of possible values for each variable. Okay, so we're looking for the range of possible y values. So what I'm actually going to use on this is the converse to the hinge theorem. Because I know side lengths, and I know that this side is the same. the marking side is the same, and then this side right here is the same because of the reflexive property. So I have two side lengths that are exactly the same, corresponding, and the third side is 11 and 12, so they are not the same. So the converse says that if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another, and the third sides are not congruent, then the larger angle is opposite the longer third side. So that means that my largest angle is opposite my larger side, which is the 12. So I know that the 28 is greater than the 2y minus 7. But I also know that the 2y minus 7 can't be less than 0, so 2y minus 7 is greater than 0. So I just have to solve both these inequalities. So I'm going to add the 7 over, and I get 35 is greater than 2y, divide by the 2, and I get 17.5 is greater than y. And then the next one, I do the same thing. I'm going to add the 7, and I get 2y is greater than 7, divide by the 2, and y is greater than 3.5. So if I were to put this inequality into one inequality, I would have y is bigger than 3.5, but y is also less than 17.5. So that would be your final answer. That's it for your notes over Scale 26, Inequalities in Triangles. Summarize your notes. Make sure all these different types of problems make sense to you. So finish this worksheet, and then you should be ready for your quiz.